How about instruction? Does this relate to your curriculum or something more?
Instruction does relate to our curriculum mainly, but not just that. It also relates to the conveyance of certain techniques and certain practices that can only be conveyed from one person to another. So our instruction is also in a form of occult instruction or initiatic instruction that comes with the more intellectual stuff. Some of that instruction is given through the rituals, and some of it is given as a result of the rituals.
Let's talk about your online instruction. How is this organised?
The online element of instruction is a series of regular tutorials that we hold in our private site. Anyone who's of the right degree can join them, and it tends to take the form of either a lecture on a particular subject or set of subjects that people are learning or studying, or as a discussion where people can, it's an open floor, people can ask questions about particular aspects of their degree and the senior Masons will answer. And also people can explore other more abstruse elements to do with the degree, and it helps them to tie things together. So that's kind of how our online instruction works. Otherwise, everything we have online is basically the curriculum and the elements of the curriculum that people have to study to progress.
What are the ingredients of your famous curriculum?
Well, as we say on the website, there are elements of alchemy. We teach various regimens of alchemy. Theurgy, practice of theurgy, which is a form of ritualised prayer, ritualised focus on the aspects of your own divinity and of the more spiritual parts of your philosophy. Astrology, classical astrology is also part of our study because the rites have an astrological makeup and substrate which people may not be aware of, so that's part of it. But also various forms of esotericism which are explored in the rituals of the rite, but also are some of the only ways that you can make sense of the rituals as well. So those elements are in our curriculum. And the curriculum is presented in a format of a handbook for each degree, a set of lectures which can be on multiple subjects, and also a set of exercises and techniques that are given to you for each degree that are associated with the degree, but also maybe associated with your progression in general through the order as an initiate.
How are the lectures and lessons of your curriculum composed, and do they refer to traditional primary sources?
They do refer to primary sources. Generally, our lectures are composed as a series of, like any lecture, a statement about a particular subject, and we explore that subject and we conclude on it. Lots of examples are given about different perspectives that maybe other people have on that subject, and how the order sees it. I mean, we do see ourselves basically as having a responsibility to convey the mysteries from our particular perspective. But we encourage people to read around the subjects, to look at primary sources. We offer lots of ebooks and translated manuscripts that explore the aspects of our writing in more detail. And we encourage people to read the great authors, all the way back to the classical period, so that they're more widely informed on the origin of many of these symbols and the details of the rituals. It's really, really important to be as widely read, I think, in this field as possible, because it gives you more tools to understand what you're doing and make better choices. So our curriculum is designed to try and encourage people to do that.
How much original, genuine, secret esoteric content is in your curriculum?
A surprising amount. There is a spike in popularity in occultism due to social media. People are exploring these things. Of course, it's bringing out the best and the worst of people at this time. There are the people that want to sell books on the subject, so they will cultivate an audience. There are people who want to promote their order, but they're looking for a particular demographic. there's all sorts of stuff. There are people who are just basically making it about them and their experience. Sometimes this is in an honest way where they're saying, I'm an explorer, I'm a spiritual practitioner, this is what I'm doing. For other people, it's less honest and they're trying to perhaps form a cult of personality. It's all out there if you want to find it. For us, those of us who began this order had already been raised in initiatory traditions, either through joining secret orders or through our family inheritance. Certainly in I was very fortunate with my background to have multiple communications and transmissions through my family line. So I've always been immersed in the mysteries. It's not a new thing to me at all. And many of the keys that you're taught and the techniques that you're taught to unfold them can be very similar in many different traditions. Not identical, but similar. And when you have a full set of keys in one, it tends to help you find the others. So we do have some very genuine esoteric transmissions in this order. Again, like with everything else, you can read and read and read. Unless you practice and bring the thing to life, it doesn't really have any value. And it's only when you practice it and bring it to life that it reveals its secrets to you directly. And our job is basically to help point the way to that process happening for you so that the rose will bloom. And that happens in multiple ways. I think people get hung up on the structure and symbolism they use to make that bloom happen for their rose, but it doesn't actually matter. As long as you're true to the system, you follow it through as faithfully as possible and you understand it as comprehensively as possible, the system you choose is less important than your commitment to it faithfully and your love of it. And I think the love that's communicated when you're initiated into it, there is a certain importance that needs to be attributed to love and enthusiasm in these mysteries, because there is a strong emotional component to realising your divinity. There is a joy to it and a deep abiding peace. And these are things that cannot be replaced by anything else, certainly not by intellectual knowledge. And one of the reasons I say that we're blessed with many aspects of esoteric transmission is because we've designed this order to be able to be a container for that. We're not interested in getting into debates with people about this. I think if you have a secret and you think it should be kept secret, shut up. Don't tell people. If you're going to let people in, be faithful and let them in according to the criteria that you know are necessary, but don't quibble. And if you're trying to sell a book or what have you, that's fine, be honest about it. But I think there's a bit of a muddle with some, and for us, it's quite simple. The secrets that we have are available if you go through the initiations and you abide by the rules of the order, just like we had to. If you have that and you do that, you will receive them. But even if you receive them, if you don't engage with them and you don't make them a part of you, there's only so much someone else can do for you. So there's also an element of one's own esoteric capacity to receive transmissions, which is incalculable. You never know what somebody may or may not be capable of receiving.
Does your order have an app or make use of app technology?
Not at the moment. I think we have enough technology to deal with. I'm not quite sure what the use of an app would be. I mean, I'm not closing out the possibility, but at the moment it hasn't really been necessary to develop one.
Do you offer training to your own tutors to ensure correct transmission and delegation?
We do. This is one of the reasons why all of our masters have to be members of the sanctuary in the 4th degree. Why we prefer to charter people we know are trained in our mysteries, because there are aspects to them that people don't realise are so important in terms of conveying them. And also that people have the right energetic makeup to be able to handle the responsibility of conveying them and understand what the responsibilities are. It's not as simple as being given a license to practice. There are elements of training that need to be there. So yes, we do provide that for people.
Are your studies strictly related to the Egyptian rite, or do they explore other related subjects and traditions?
The handbooks are mainly related to the Egyptian rite, but you very quickly realise that you have to explore other related subjects. Not just the things that we've mentioned, alchemy, theurgy, astrology, Kabbalah, Hermeticism, but all of the other things as well that come into that underlay it and that are sprung from it. because you need to enrich your practice, but also many of the decisions that were made in the ritual only make sense when you have that extra light to shine on the symbolism. So we are always exploring all different aspects of the Western mystery tradition that some people might not feel irrelevant, and they suddenly realise they really are relevant to understanding the Egyptian rite. So we encourage that.
Is the teaching style formal or more casual?
I think it depends on the tutor. I think the style that we have in the order is a good balance between academic rigour in the areas where it's needed, like for instance in dealing with primary and secondary sources and understanding how to frame some of that information, how to process it, how to present it. But on the other hand, we want things to be accessible and to be enjoyable. So we try to avoid making things too dry or too heavily loaded with history. Those books exist. If people need to study them, they're there. And we certainly wouldn't discourage it. But for the order itself, because it's about being and practicing, we tend to slant towards encouraging people to experience and feel the things that they're learning, instead of just learning them by rote.
Do you offer teaching alternatives for those with different learning styles?
We can certainly explore this. I mean, there is already a very strongly audio-visual element to ritual because that's part of how it's constructed. So for people who perhaps are more audio-visual learners, ritual will still give them a high-impact experience, even if they might struggle with some of the more academic or literary sides to it. We'd encourage them to try, because it's important. We always ask you to write lectures, for instance, and pieces to explore the degree that you're in and show that you've understood it. You know, one of the beauties of the Egyptian rite is how visual it actually is.
Does the curriculum favour academics, or is it accessible to those who have more conventional educations or come from more poorly educated backgrounds?
Okay, well, in our membership, we've had people from all of those different walks of life. People who are strongly academic, have doctorates, people who just went to a comprehensive and don't have a lot of confidence in study, but actually most people end up excelling. I found actually in my experience that people who were slightly more nervous about study and writing lectures, when they engaged with it, the results were far more dramatic than those who were perhaps more confident academically, because they were committing more of themselves to it. So actually, all of those types of people are represented, and they all benefit from the rite.
Do you maintain a balance between theoretical and practical knowledge in your curriculum?
We do try to, yes.
How would you deal with someone who was struggling with the material?
Well, personally, I would take them under my wing. I would discuss with them the things that they were finding hard and try to think of alternative ways of tackling the issue. And I would encourage all of our tutors to do the same. Traditionally, apprentices are looked after by the junior warden and companions or fellow crafts by the senior warden. So it's important that the wardens have a certain knack with encouraging people in their tuition, helping them with things that maybe, because they're already master masons, they might think are quite simple, but people struggle with when they're just starting. So that's why compassion is important. It's important to remember that people are on different stages of their journey, and you need to remember what it was like when you didn't know, when you didn't understand, when someone helped you up. So it's one of the reasons why we discourage elitism, because everybody's striving to achieve the best that they can, and we're supposed to help each other as brethren. So yes, we would always try to help someone who was struggling. Why would you not?
What about a joining member who might be an expert in some of the subject matter you teach? How would you deal with this?
Well, celebrate it, that's marvellous. Apart from the fact that they can add to the curriculum, they can contribute to the lectures, the discussions with a wealth of background knowledge, which is to be celebrated. It also means that they can get a great deal more out of the rite, not just because they have more to put in, but because they'll have a greater grasp of the quality of the material and the importance of it. That's what we've discovered has happened, especially when people are looking for something to contextualise what they already know. I think the Egyptian rite, one of its great gifts, especially memphismizraim, is that it always provides context for things. As masterful as you may be in one subject or two subjects, because it requires you to study many more, you get that opportunity to compare and contrast what you know and what you don't know, and perhaps fill in some of the blanks that you didn't even know were there.
Thank you, Grandmaster.